Welcome, family, to another edition of T-Lims Presents The Bridge. Let me get this out the way. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Francis.
Hey.
You know, those are two of our people that works with us, and we want to send a shout out to those guys. Want to send a shout out to Ron and Reggie, the two gurus that make this happen. Today, we have an exciting show for you guys, so I'm a little excited. But before we get into that, and our distinguished guests, I want to tell you a story that something I just found out. Now, there's, you know, that DNA thing that's going around, Ancestry. Don't trust them because they don't really destroy your DNA, and we don't want to happen to you what happened. What's that lady name?
Henrietta Lacks.
Yes, you know, and now they don't come up with all kind of little cures and things, and that family didn't get a penny. But now, going back to what I discovered that I was Hebrew this weekend. You would not believe it. Y'all laugh. No. Shalom, my Hebrew brothers out there. They laughing at me. But anyway, I just found out that I was Hebrew.
People say, Shalom, Hashem Shalipo,
I just turned Hebrew.
Man.
I just turned Hebrew, so I don't know all the terminology, but we're getting there. But anyway, how I found out was that, like I was telling you guys about the DNA. Now, I want to liken it to this story. I know you guys probably seen the movie, The Ten Commandments. You know,
Moses,
with Moses, and then it was
Charlton Heston, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many Ten Commandments movie is it?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, Moses or Ten Commandments. You throwing me off. 10 Commandments. You know something now. Moses was put in the water, and this little splotch, you know, which was part of their clothing. You know, he went and took the splotch back to his mom, and his mom tried to lie to him. This is a movie, y'all, so okay, don't quote me. Don't go looking for it in the Bible. He said something about a splotch. You know, but
Cecil B. DeMille he's talking about.
Right. But anyway, he took the splotch and he took it back to his mom, and his mom tried to lie to him, and he took the splotch and he said, "Oh, I am Hebrew." So I got a splotch this weekend that let me know that I'm Hebrew. So, you know, so I guess what they do is, you know, something back in them days, whatever your clothing is, like if your family wore a polka dot, everybody wore a polka dot or plaid or something. I don't know. Aaron had on the same kind of. Aaron had on some slacks. That
move away from him.
Anyway, okay. Well, that's how I found out I was Muslim. What I say? Hebrew. No. Sorry, Hebrewers.
Let's go on.
You butchered it,
yeah, Israelites. Yeah, okay, y'all dudes. But anyway, yeah, because I got my robe, man, and you know, so it looked just like Moses's. But anyway, so I might be Hebrew. I might be Israelite. I might be Israelite. But anyway, okay, like I said, we got a good show today. Today we have the United Negroes. I mean, the United
Black police officers.
Let me do this.
Get it.
The United Negroes. No, not the United Negroes. I mean, the United Coloreds. No, not the United Coloreds.
United Blacks.
The United. Let me do this.
I'm waiting.
The United Blacks. Now, what I want, see, I was leading up to something. What's key in all that, right? What's the key word?
United.
Very good. Go to the head of the class. Anyway, oh, sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to turn this over to Twyla, and she's going to introduce our guest, the United Black Police
Officers
Associations.
And the Hispanic National Law Enforcement.
And Hispanic
Association.
What she said. So that's too much for me because, like I said, I'm excited about the show. And, you know, this is an opportunity for you guys, like I said, to put your brick into the foundation, speak up and speak out. And so this is a platform for you to get your message out there. So, hey.
I'm super excited because I'm a former police officer myself. I belong to Black Law Enforcement Officers Association and FOP number 7 in Akron, Ohio. So I'm really excited because I understand the the A and the B side. People always talk about what police officers do, but they don't ever talk to police officers to find out what you really go through to get the job done. I'm excited because I have with me Thomas Perez, I have Lieutenant SONYA ZOLICOFFER, and I have Thomas, Joe.
We were going for you, Thomas Boone.
Thomas Boone and Joe Perez. Okay, Joe, Tom, and SONYA. And they are here because there have been significant discrepancies with the treatment of police officers of color, both black and Latino descent. And I understand that there's a lot of trials going on in the streets, but there's more trials than you know going on behind the scenes. Without further ado, let's hear from Tom.
Welcome, you guys, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us today.
Yes.
And as you started off with today, Negro colored, you know, that's what we've gone through since we've been there.
Yeah.
We haven't made it quite to black yet, but we still, we're making our way up.
Okay, keep on pushing.
We're pushing though. We're gonna keep doing this lawsuit. We're gonna keep pushing. But I've been with the police department now for 21 years, and during that time, I've pretty much been everywhere I wanted to go, from investigations to enforcement units, of course, patrol. We all start off community policing as well. So I have my background has been very diverse within the police department. Okay. So I haven't been in one particular place as patrol. As they would say, you'll be disgruntled if you've been there so long. I've been all over, just like my co-workers here, my friends here. We've been all over. And so we had the opportunity to see and hear and talk to people who've experienced vast racism within the police department, whether it was because of transfers, promotions, punishments. But if they treat us like that, what it's going to look like on the outside as well. So we've had the opportunity to see, and during this interview, I worked in background investigations for maybe about 3 years, wow. And they have been in internal affairs. So we saw what was happening to the citizens in the community as well. And with that, we was like, okay, enough is enough. And we had to stand up and do something about this.
Okay. Thank you so much, because I know that there's discrepancies with the rates of arrest, but I can only speak to the police department that I work in, was that it was highlighted that if you see 4 black men in a car, pull them over in FI, and it was like a field interrogation, was called. We call them FI. And what you do is you go in there, you run a 6 and 7, that means you run in a warrant, see if they have a misdemeanor or a felony, then you check to see if the driver's a valid driver, and then you take information down on all those persons in that vehicle. And if nothing comes up, then you let them go. But the bottom line is that you build this big collecting chart of all these gentlemen's information. Now, when I worked over, and I'm going to call it out, when I worked over the car in Elliott, if I saw 4 Caucasian boys riding, walking, don't, there's nothing to bother them about. And that's how it went. And that didn't settle real well either. So with that, Joe.
Yeah, I'm Joe Perez. I've been in law enforcement over 21 years as well. And like Boone said, we've been different places and we've seen many things, and we received like so many complaints from officers, and we've even witnessed some unfair treatment, and it all goes back to stuff that we see in the community. The way that officers approach minority citizens. I mean, they pull you over in a traffic stop, and right away they get out the car like you done pissed them off, like you know what I'm saying, like it's personal.
Right.
And it begins from there. I got the opportunity to work in internal affairs. So in internal affairs, as I moved up the rank to captain, I had a little bit more authority to guide how investigations are done, how people are treated. I had more of a say, because seeing the way people are treated in the street was terrible. And now it was my opportunity to, like, if we would get video footage and see how an officer treats somebody, I was able to say, wait, hold it, this ain't right. And the bottom line, the reason why we submitted the lawsuit and the DOJ complaint was mostly because this last administration, what they've done was every time that one of us said something about something they did to somebody in the community, you were targeted, you were blackballed, you were transferred, fired, something, you know. And it, you know, the previous administrations, we used to sit down with the chief of police and say, hey, wait, hold it. We saw A, B, and C. This ain't right. This looks a little racist. And, you know, we didn't always see eye to eye, but at least, you know, we had an understanding. Sometimes they went our way and fixed it. Sometimes they didn't, but we kept it moving.
Mm-hmm.
This administration, for example, you know, we had an officer that received a text message from his sergeant because he didn't arrest this black citizen, all right, on a call. And the text message, he refers to the citizen as Nika. You know, why didn't you arrest this Nika? And you know what that was on the text message.
Right.
You know, and right away he responded back to the sergeant and said, hey, what do you mean by Nika?
Right.
It took the sergeant, I don't know, it was over 20 minutes to respond. Oh, that was a mistake, that was talk to text. So we presented this to the chief of police, and what they do, the short story is, that officer who was a detective, a senior detective, got transferred right back to patrol, you know, and the sergeant, he's got another good assignment in charge of an investigative unit, you know, so things like that are why we filed.
Let me ask you a question right quick. Don't you think, I mean, collectively, like you guys, that affects the way you guys police?
Correct.
Because, you know, some of you, for fear of retribution, if you don't, because again, now from what I understand, you know, so like when we was kids, you didn't whoop your kids for every little thing that they did. You don't. You use your discretion in order to assess, well, should I whoop them this time or next time? So again, with officers, you guys like use your discretion, like, okay, I mean, murder or of course, you know, certain things that you guys, but you guys have a window of leniency that, okay, I'm gonna let them go with a warning, and see by these methods. Now y'all categorize and we as citizens looking on the outside at the inside don't know the inside story, and so now we react to you guys in a certain manner, and immediately when a stop occurs, there's conflict. You understand? Because you know something, and then you know something. One thing begets another. You know, because now we come off funky, and you know, like, well, we got to come off funky, and it creates, this situation creates a storm. You know, and you guys kind of like, it's I guess you know how a storm comes together. You got these elements happening here and these elements happening here, and then when they come together, you get a thunderstorm. So again,
bomb waiting to explode.
Yes, exactly. Can I? I'm smiling because you know, you know. So can I call you guys AI? Is that what they call y'all? That's a TV. So yeah, you know, I see on TV. You know, turn I'm just asking.
See, everything stays the same no matter who's here. You understand that, right? Now I'm sitting here, and you don't even know how honored I feel to sit next to you, and I tell you why. Because as a black woman on the police department, from my department, we only had one black female that was high law, and she just recently got promoted to lieutenant. So we didn't have any black females that were sergeants at all, which I didn't understand. Wow. I had come from the police department I had spent 12 years in the Marine Corps, and was solicited to come to this particular department. And I just thought there was going to be more, you know, black faces. And I'm trying to think, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know of any Latino police officer we had on the department, period. If someone knows, hashtag just another kid from Akron, let me know who it was, because I don't know. And because I'm sitting here, and I know there were some that had taken the test. But the way the test was taken in Akron, or for civil service test, the way they even did for promotion was, everybody takes this test for sergeant, people can take this test for sergeant. Then they said there might be 6 slots. They don't have to pick 1 or 2. They pick the third person. Exactly. They can pick 4 and 5. Yeah. And so they jumped down without any kind of reason at all, any kind of logic. And I knew people that retired without ever getting promoted because they passed the test and then just got tired of taking it. So I'm trying to figure out, well, I'm not going to try to figure out because you're going to give me the answer. What made you go into the police department as a police officer, and how did you deal with, I know there's sexism, I know there's racism, I know there's all kind of isms. So
I came on the police department at the age of 36. This was my second career. I was a meeting planner, so I traveled a lot.
Okay.
And got to see the world, going different places, negotiating contracts for big meetings, 500
Okay.
plus. And my girlfriends are police officer, well now retired from MPD.
okay.
And she would come tell me the stories of, you know, the police department, how this was a great camaraderie sometimes together. So I sat in my office one day and got on the computer and says, yeah, I want to do this at 36. And decided to leave in 2000, went through the academy, made it through the academy. I was already somewhat fit because I was always working out.
Okay.
So I didn't have a problem within the academy.
Okay.
And then after graduating from the academy, you are assigned to a field training officer.
Mm-hmm.
And that field training officer, his responsibility is to train me to go out there and be a police officer. Okay?
Right.
Now, mind you, I had a white field training officer.
Okay.
And we had to ride together in the same car.
Mm-hmm.
I was always driving.
Wait a minute. So you all didn't switch off every other day to drive?
No, you're a rookie. You're going to drive. You're going to do what that field training officer tells you to do.
Huh.
And in my situation now, I'm 36 years old, so I have
So
some
you're
experience. I have
grown.
some life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and maybe a week or two into the training, the field training officer started asking me questions. You ever been with a white man? Do you know all white men don't have small?
Wow.
And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm not ready for this. I wasn't ready for this. I don't want to talk about this. And then it escalated to when I started writing my reports. He's like, oh, you write really well. Like, yeah, I'm not dumb just because, you know,
Right.
every black female or minority that comes on the police department does some have an education.
Right.
I have a degree. And at that time, I wish I didn't write well because at the time, every time I would write well, you did a good job. And I'm like, you know, don't touch me. And I'm thinking every day that I go home, I don't want to talk about it to anyone, that this guy is doing things, saying things that really affected me mentally and emotionally at the time, and to the point where he exposed himself.
Wow.
He would call me names if I didn't drive fast enough. Come on, bitch, drive. And I didn't want to tell anyone because like he told me when he threw his phone into the dashboard, he says, if you tell anyone, no one's going to believe you anyway. And I'm a strong black woman.
Right.
But that was hard to deal with. That was hard to go and discuss. Even when you go home and you know, you have family and friends ask you, how was training today? I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
So they felt that, oh, must be really, you know,
Stressful,
too much for
it's
her,
tough,
you know, and tough. No, it had nothing to do with that.
Right.
And finally, when I decided that I had to tell somebody what's going on, I called my girlfriend in D.C.
Okay.
on my way to work, and I said, you know, another young lady, a black female in my class that graduated with me, she's having issues with her field training officer. And he's doing this, he's doing that, he's touching her, he exposed himself, he rubbed up against me. What should I tell her? And she says, you're a third party, you have to tell. And right then I just lost it, and I told her it was me.
It was you. Wow.
And knowing I didn't know who to trust within the police department. I'm a rookie, and I said, damn, I left my good paying job to be the police because this is what I wanted to do, and my goal was to become an investigator. And so moving forward, I did go and I discussed it. Well, I had to go and report it. And when I reported it, they were like, you know, if this is going on, this officer will never work for this department. Well, I'm in 19 years, going on 19 years. He's still here. And
I watched the Roland Martin interview, and you guys mentioned you have a Me Too movement going on within the.
Well, that's me.
That's what we were referring to.
So that's what I wanted. Can you guys touch on that a little more and explain what that is exactly?
Well, after I reported the officer, I filed a complaint with EEOC, and I even took a polygraph.
Wow.
Never told me I passed, but I'm still here on the department. And I had to get my life together, knowing that, yes, everybody see me at work, I'm always smiling. Because, like, this is 19, 18 years ago. Why is this bothering you? Well, you've never been in that situation, and you got to suppress the things that you went through and just keep moving forward, because that's what we know how to do.
Now, I can speak to what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So I continue to, you know, after it was over and done, they didn't fire him. And I had another black female come to me and said, grabbed me by my face and said, you need to get yourself together, because you're in this department, you need to show them what you can do. Now, I was transferred from where this happened for my safety. Because after I reported this officer, no one wanted to back me up.
Okay?
Yes, it does.
No one wanted to work with me, okay? Because I'm the problem one, and I exposed this individual, and yet you have even some of us on the department that
they're shields.
Oh, now she's bringing this up, and now she wants to talk about it. It was a lot of stress. So moving forward, I got transferred, took the test, and made it. So far, I'm now a lieutenant, okay? And I was chosen to be the spokeswoman for the county, the one you see that reports the news or whatever is going on in the county. And I did that for a while, and then I made it to the spot where I always wanted to be, and that was internal affairs.
Okay. Wow.
And in internal affairs, that shit is real. I mean,
that's what you feel. That's all right. That's a long way to come, but you made it.
But you know, I'm sitting here next to her, and I feel the pain, and I'm not saying that verbally just to say it. I feel it personally. I know what it's like to report. That's right. But the difference with me was the person I reported on, he ended up becoming the chief of police. And the person who investigated, the internal affairs officer, was his friend, who was later on convicted of killing his wife, the black police officer that killed his wife that was a doctor, Doug Prade. So I know what she's like, because I know what she's talking about. I know what it's like to be assigned in a car and call for backup, and no one comes, and then the person who comes is just an old school chum of mine who happens to flip over now the channel, and then he comes and he backs me up, but then he gets in trouble because he's out of district to come back me up, you see. So I know what that's like. I know what it's like to have to go to the psychiatrist because your testimony, your statement doesn't match everyone else's. It matches the person who was accused of being convicted of this crime, but no one else's. And being called in by the police chief and saying, "Are you sure? You didn't imagine these things?" I said, "Well, you know, you can question my vision, but don't question my mind." But my statement matched the people in this particular venue. My statement matched the young lady who they arrested and unarrested, which is illegal, first of all. And but I got sent to the psychiatrist, and afterwards, if I got a person that wanted to work with me, it was real rare. I even switched to go to nights. I had a noon to 8 shift, which was the cake shift. But I ended up volunteering to go to nights so I could be out the way. And that wasn't even far enough to be out of the way. I ended up leaving because I couldn't. There's too many to fight. I mean, just so I'm sitting here, and I have to commend you because I know that you had to go through a whole lot of.
Yeah.
And people think, I don't know how your department works, but when you're a rookie, we have 6 months that you can be fired for no reason.
Exactly.
You got 6 months. If you don't pass that, if they don't say that you're okay in that 6 months, and that harassment sometimes starts within that 6 months. So what are you going to do?
But it was only a couple months. And if there was any deception on a polygraph that I took at that time,
then you'd have been
I wouldn't
let go.
be here. Okay? But I'm still here on this department. And never told me I passed the polygraph.
But you know you didn't fail.
But I know I didn't fail. And then, going through my years, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014. And thank God I'm 5 years cancer-free.
Wonderful,
Amen.
wonderful.
And going in, still dealing with the neuropathy and everything, but never discussed the pain physically at work. Never had to use leave to go to appointments.
Right.
I did those appointments on my days off because I was dedicated to making sure that I made it on this department as another black female, even helping other females that are now, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to understand that. And then being in internal affairs, okay, a black woman and speak up, hey, that's not right. No, I'm not doing that. No, you have to give me a direct order to do that.
Okay.
So now you got to go. And so now I have to go back to patrol in the same area where the sexual assault occurred, having to supervise, because now I'm a lieutenant.
Okay.
Having to supervise some of the individuals that were connected during that time, and I just lost it. And you know, it was never, oh, I'm not worried about patrol. It was the fact that you're trying to punish me because I spoke up. And then I go and I sit down with the chief and literally beg him, don't send me back out there where this occurred. Okay? All I ask is that you don't. I'm suffering from depression. I'll say it. Okay? I go through a lot, and I'm explaining this to him, even telling the chief that I had nightmares that I shot that officer years ago.
Wow.
And
nothing.
He looks at me and he says, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you right now because you filed an EEO complaint. So you're saying that with a gun on my hip, you want me to go back and deal with officers that I know has some resentment because I spoke out. But mind you, I was transferred from that same area for my safety.
And then sent back there.
Yeah.
So your safety wasn't even didn't matter.
There's another female out of my class, whereas she was interviewed. Okay?
Okay.
And
everything was cool.
When she was interviewed, she said some of the same things about the same field training officer.
And
but nothing happens. So, you know, I can't go to work every day and be angry because I knew there would be a time and point where I'm going to see this officer again. And after years and I saw him again, I just took a moment and said, in the name of Jesus, help me in the name of Jesus. And I had this, you know, you got to get through it.
You got to get through it. Yep. Because you're expected to get through it. It's like you're expected to not fail. You're expected to not fail. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back on the opposite side. We're going to come up with Tom. He's going to explain more about the lawsuit, and then I'd like to have Joe talk about some of the harassment that you all incur. Right back. Don't go nowhere. Don't touch that dial. Stick around for a long while.
Everyone has a story to tell, and I know you do too. But you don't know where or how to start? Imagination Press will help you. Write, edit, and publish your book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Lulu.com, Ingram, as well as helping you reach markets across the globe. Call us today on 301-381-3888 379-2709 for a free one-on-one consultation. Or visit our website and send us an email, imaginationpressonline.com. Again, that's imaginationpressonline.com. Imagination Press is your complete guide to publishing, branding, and promotions. Give us a call today.
Welcome back. We hope that you are on YouTube right now on VoxWave Live with T. Lens Presents The Bridge. We have a dynamic conversation today, talking about all kinds of things that are just wrong that should be right. We also got joined in the studio with Brother Larry Wells from 1 Million, so we look forward to hearing his comments and conversation as well. Joe, tell us about this lawsuit.
Well, we filed this lawsuit December 13th.
Tell them who we.
The United Black Police Officers Association and the Hispanic National Law Enforcement Association. And our attorneys are the ACLU of Maryland, the Washington Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights and Urban Affairs, and Arnold and Porter. So they helped us out. You know, they filed a lawsuit on our behalf because we pretty much had no choice.
Okay.
And, you know, like SONYA was saying earlier, she's an example of the retaliation and the messages that they send. Because when they transferred her out of internal affairs and sent her right back to the same place she got sexually assaulted, that was just to send a message.
Right.
You know, because if you break that blue wall of silence, this is what's going to happen to you. And we got many more examples of that in the lawsuit. You know, like I said earlier, the detective that reported his sergeant using the N-word, you know, on a text message, he gets transferred. You know, we had another officer where they went to a call for service in an area that the white officers think is a bad neighborhood.
Okay.
You know, for us it isn't,
Right.
but for them it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anything's a bad neighborhood.
Right.
That's right.
People of color are there.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's what they say.
And after they leave this call for service, they send a text message saying we ought to bring back public hangings.
Wow.
You know, we turned all that stuff into DOJ, but it just shows the mindset. And with this particular administration, as soon as you report it, you get targeted. You get transferred, you get terminated. You know, I mean, there are so many examples.
Is there unity amongst the ranks? You know, because sometimes, let's say in that situation or the situation that you guys, they might sneak in, you know, a mold to try to like see what's going on or you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you this. You know, they're sending messages, you know, because each and every one of us that have come out, you know, we have like over 120 people on this complaint to DOJ. But on the lawsuit, it's only 12 of us and the 2 associations. And the reason being is because, you know, as soon as you come out in the open and expose something with this administration, you get targeted. You know, and you know, people don't want to be out there, so we decided, hey, we can't have this. You know, we can't continue to allow them to do things, especially to people in the community.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, as a police officer, when you're trying to get hired, what do we say? I want to be a police officer because I want to help the community.
Right.
Right, but then when you speak up, you commit career suicide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a question for you all. I know that with when you get hired or the part of the hiring process, you take the MMPI, the psychological test. And I know that some of the questions are the same questions asked over again, different way, and anyone knows how to, you know, hit that test right. Do you all take interim psychological exams, like mental fitness tests from time to time? Like, say, for instance, no, okay, you shake your head real quick.
Only time you take the psychological is when you're trying to get hired within the police department.
So that means that's the same thing as with the departments I'm talking about in Ohio as well. So I have a question with that too. Then, I I know that there were certain things you see where death scenes where people were dead. You've got to examine the scene, cordon off the scene, protect the crime scene at the same time, do your field interrogation at the same time. So is there any relief for those officers that have to go through that afterwards?
It's funny you say that. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to start back to the hiring process.
Okay.
That's actually where I was working before I got transferred.
Okay.
And when I started as a sergeant in that unit, I was instructed to keep track of any reason why you may be non-selected or disqualified. So I did that. I kept a running spreadsheet on people who may have been disqualified, why they were disqualified, and as I kept expanding, I would expand more. Were they from the county? What was their education? I just had a big list of how I kept track of everything.
Let me ask you a question on that real quick. So where did you get the names from? Or did you get by name of the individuals or just by, were they identified by name?
Oh, yes, because like I said, I was a sergeant of the unit, so I had to see every file or every... Anytime
so it wasn't anonymous?
No.
Okay.
I had to see it.
Okay.
So what I noticed was one day I kept saying, why psychic kept disqualifying people? And I kept saying, why? And I didn't even pick up on it was by race at the time.
Okay.
I just noticed it was happening a lot. So then in my spreadsheet, I was able to break it down by race, age, like I said, education. And then what I noticed was, boom, people of color get knocked out faster. So what I did was I sent the email up to my chain to say, hey, I think we have an issue here.
Okay.
We need to have this addressed. I think we need to stop the process right now to identify, because at this point, if you try to get hired and he kicked you out by the psychological, you was out for a year. So instead of kicking somebody out for a year, let's figure out what it is that we have, then we'll restart the process. And from there, it started. When I sent the email up, then it came, I was ordered not to keep track of all that information anymore.
Wow.
So they took all that, no, you don't keep track of that information anymore. Then
was there a reason why? No verbal or...
It came in, I had all these boxes in my office that I put the information in. All the boxes out my office the next day.
Wow.
And then after they took the boxes away, I had to go down to the deputy chief's office. Don't jump the chain of command, even though I can show you texts and emails where we spoke directly all the time.
Okay.
And ceased that. Then I got written up. And then from there, I became a problem child. And then I'm in patrol.
Okay, let me say something right quick, because, I applied for the Akron Police Department. At the testing, I was in the top 5. I did the physical exam, passed that. I think it was 5 stages that we had to go through. And I passed, the previous 3. Now, there was like a push for hiring in Akron, and so in one of the meetings, I had to meet the chief. And, the interview went good, and so the chief asked me a question, and listening to you guys, I'm thinking this is probably why I got knocked off. But anyway, listening to you guys, like I said, he proposed a situation. He gave me a scenario, whereas he said, a guy was guilty of something, and but they didn't have the evidence to convict him. And I'm the arresting officer. He asked me, what would I do? Now, I thought about it, and then I asked him, well, I hadn't talked to you guys yet, right? He said, no, you didn't talk to us. And then I told the dude that, well, I have to tell the truth for what I know it to be. Oh, good answer, good answer. Which was basically,
wrong.
Don't hire him because he ain't of our material. I didn't fit the mold. I'm listening to you guys' story, and I'm wondering, like,
You were spared.
Question is what you call an integrity question. Right. So they'll line you up with a bunch of different questions, but then they'll slide in an integrity question, and that sounds like what you had, an integrity question.
And then when you're on the department, as long as you are a part of the group, and then when you see things that are done and it's not right, like think about, I was the spokesperson, I was the poster child for breast cancer, so people know my face.
Right.
And now I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because I spoke up.
Yeah.
Or you're bringing this up now because they chose you to go back to patrol on the midnight shift.
See.
Hold up. Nationally, now, and I say nationally, it's not just happening here.
No.
And I'm going to go back to the Rodney King and various other incidents that has happened where you saw officers standing around while these atrocities are being in. Me as an officer, I could not sit by and let them, whether the person was guilty or not, excessive force. I mean, come on, y'all kicking.
But let me tell you what happens though. Sometimes when you do speak out, your children get harassed.
Well, I'm
Your
talking
children,
about y'all take this lawsuit
I'm talking
nationally.
About, yeah, but what I'm saying is that
we need change in the whole system.
What I'm saying is that your children get harassed. Your children your house gets phone calls in the middle of the night. You look outside your window at night and you see strange people sitting outside your house to the point that you run outside, like I did, with a hot thing of water, say, hey, you want some coffee? And then they drive off, peeling off like somebody's crazy. You get sent to the shrink all the time. You get called back and forth down. You get questioned on everything that you write up. It's always, are you sure this is right? Did you miss anything? Yeah, and then if there's a incident where evidence is missing, although it wasn't your case, you get questioned. You know that you got into with this officer. Did you happen to go into the evidence locker? It's like you got a whole building with a bunch of other people. You got me watching, and to the point where getting called in and then not being able to go out to your car on shift and then having to call. And they got the unit rep, the shift rep, and then people like me say, no, I want to see the president of the FOP. He's at home in bed. We'll get him up. I'll sit here until the end of the shift. I'm still getting paid.
See, look,
and when you do
I don't know.
you
all
pay.
This is evidence.
See what I'm saying? You pay.
Know that you guys can. I don't know how the system, but that you guys can use. And until y'all start speaking up like y'all doing now, nothing is going to be done. Now they're going to keep pressing you guys, just like they keep pressing you, pressing you, and hopefully that you back down, and by transferring you guys and all these little hardships and different techniques that they're trying to do to silence you, but I commend you guys because you got to stay the course.
But at least you all got at least you all are together. And see, it's hard when you by yourself.
Right.
This started for me when I got promoted as a lieutenant back in March of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been to work since last year. Okay? I've been off because the county refuses me dealing with the breast cancer, the aftermath, the pain, and wearing a vest. If you can't wear this vest, you can't be the police.
Oh, see, now I'm telling you, you all just don't understand that your police officers out here doing a job, and some of them are suffering from PTSD. That is real. And unlike a lot of places, they don't have anywhere. We don't have anywhere to go to, because the minute you reveal something, you get ostracized. You get punished in a way that's just remarkable. So the lawsuit encounters all of these, and you're talking about the hiring practices. So what differences have happened with the hiring practices since they removed the books and removed the boxes and all that stuff?
Well, I don't know, because they didn't remove me. So
It's not
I don't know
Wow.
everything they're doing on the inside now, because I'm on the outside.
And one thing that we can tell you is, in the last 3 years, right, we were tracking the people that they've terminated. Right? And they've never, in the last 3 years, they did not terminate not one white officer.
Wow.
Not one. Recently, last week, they finally terminated one. One that got convicted for assaulting a homeless woman. All right? He actually got convicted a couple years ago. And now they're letting him go. And what they did was, they do so many things. They allowed this guy to stay long enough so that he could get his retirement.
Right.
Meanwhile, we have Mike Brown, who was in our lawsuit, and he got into an off-duty incident. They terminated him 3 days before he could get his retirement.
Wow.
This guy, they kept him over a year. They could have fired him at least a year ago.
And they should have.
Didn't you get another complaint about it?
And he got another complaint while he's on suspension.
But he was able to stay on
Yes.
long enough so he could get his retirement.
Yeah.
Because your retirement is protected once you meet that threshold.
Exactly.
Well, these are issues that need to be exposed. Go ahead, Jermaine.
I'm an inner city kid. Grew up in Northwest DC.
Northeast.
Seen a lot, gone through a lot, dealt with a lot. At this point, we got to start having real conversations, like real conversations. I've been taught, I'm not going to say taught because I don't believe it, but you know, they want to make us believe, especially coming from the inner city, like you said, different neighborhoods I grew up in. They want us to believe that every police officer is there to protect and serve. And at the end of the day, that's just not real. And I also believe, coming from that, you know, my peers that believe all police are bad, I don't believe that either. But in order for us to get, here we go, connect the dots and build the bridge, we got to have real conversations.
Yeah.
Like what you guys are talking about is real, but people need, like, civilians need to understand this, as well as people, because obviously, I was going to ask a question earlier about why do you guys think this happens? But I know why it happens, and on a deeper note, that's more spiritual. It happens in every phase and facet of life, in every which way. And if you watch, whether you believe or not, like Jesus and God is real, understand it happens. The devil's job is to steal, kill, and destroy. At the end of the day, we got to have real conversations. And if we're not ready to have these conversations with each other and talk, even the people that don't look like we look or come from where we come from, we have to have these conversations because this problem is only going to, it gets worse for you guys, but then it gets worse for us as well.
Exactly. It affects the community because
Yeah.
you have officers that go out in the community, as myself. I knew a lot of citizens in my area when I started out and had to go to patrol, even as an investigator, okay? I had a lot of individuals that at one point, when I had a situation and I was by myself, do you know who came to back me up? My community. It's like, nope, don't go there. You know, she's cool or whatever. It's the way you treat the community.
Exactly.
Because they may be the one
And
day that's going to save your life.
It's an absolute fact.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're going out there and you wear the uniform and you think this uniform gives you the right to cuss me out, I've been stopped by one of our own, white police officer, on a traffic stop. And I let him give his spiel, yelling at me and everything. I let him go for it. And I said, number one, you're going to stop yelling at me. And what's your ID number? And then he said, who are you? I said, I'm Lieutenant.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, no, let's have this conversation. You pull me over. I just buried my aunt. You don't know where my mind is.
Right.
You don't know what I'm thinking about. Think of me as a citizen and not the fact that you pulled up on a police officer who's carrying a weapon, but I could have been a civilian who has a weapon that's pissed off because you come to my car yelling at me.
Or you just made the statement, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, but they know, you know when you make a traffic stop before you get out the car, who's the registered owner of that car.
He didn't have time to do that.
So
he was next to me.
He just jumped
out.
out.
And he just said, pull over. And I said, okay. And mind you, my car's tinted. I rolled down all my windows because I'm the police, they don't know you if you're not in uniform.
Exactly.
They don't recognize you if you're not in uniform, okay? So this officer, and then on the same note, I called my lieutenant on my speakerphone in my car, which is another black female. Okay. And she let him do his spiel, and then I said what I had to say. Then there was another officer that pulled up and got behind and got on the other side of my car. And when he recognized, he said, "Yeah, you got this," because he knew who I was.
Okay.
But yeah,
you got this and pull on,
because he didn't want to be a part of it. He knew who I was. He's like, "Nah, you got this. I'm out."
But this is why I said we have to have these conversations, because the same thing you said about yourself and feeling, dreams or nightmares about, like, think about a civilian quickly. I had a situation after I'd already graduated college. I was actually teaching at the time. So my first vehicle was a bucket. My second vehicle was a Land Rover. At the time, it was a 98 Land Rover, tinted. I was 26, so I wanted it tinted. But at the time I was pulled over on Suitland Parkway, I was fully dressed. I was the assistant director at that point in time. I had moved to that point. So I was actually dressed. So when he pulled me over, rolled the window down, put my hands on the steering wheel, it was the United States Park Police. They gave all my information. No issues, no anything. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there, a second car pulls up. Now, I know everything is legit. I know where I'm coming from. I know what I've done and what I haven't done. Pull me out the car, take me through the whole harassment process. I mean, the whole harassment process. I'm hands on it for nothing. Then told me, well, the reason they pulled me, why did I get pulled over in the first place? Well, the tail light has a shortage. I can't prove it. The tail light has a shortage. So when you stepped on it, we didn't see it. I'm like, well, let me try it now. It's like, well, I think it's a shortage because so it'll pop back. So if you saw it pop back on, why did you pull me over? And then why did you take me through all this for no reason? And I never got an explanation. I still don't have an explanation. So when you saying trauma and stress, like naturally now, I'm nervous with police. And I was not that way before because even though I grew up in the city, like I'm nervous. So
because we do have great officers on this department, we do. And you see 3 of us right here, but we do have officers that go out and do the right thing. But we do have some that says, I got this uniform, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's exactly.
Because when they come to internal affairs, I call them repeat offenders. Because I've seen this name before, or they say, well, oh yeah, here you go again. No, not here you go again. How about we do something about it?
And you know the one thing, and just to touch on, being back in patrol, these commanders, they all they know about is numbers.
Okay.
That's all they know. So if you're not producing a certain amount of numbers, then you're looked at as a slack officer. So what happens is they'll try to start somewhat a reward you. Whoever can bring in the most stats for the month.
And y'all know how many repair orders I've got.
So when you say, hey, why? So that also will pull you over for a tail light. They give you a ticket, the warning, and the equipment repair order. So their numbers can look larger than what it really is. Because that way, when the commander looks at the numbers, they'll go, oh, we increased by 200 tickets this month.
Wow.
But as a rookie, when you're told, okay, I ran a light or whatever in my cruiser, and I said a few words, and I had to go down to IA. Oh, if you've never been to IA, you're not the police. And I'm like, what? Wow. This was as a rookie.
You know, the problem, especially with this administration, is that, you know, they want heavy-handed police officers. They don't want people that work with the community. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, I mean, Boone and I, we used to be in violent crimes in the jump outs, basically.
Yeah, I know.
Never got a complaint. Not once. As many people as we jumped out and did our thing, because you treat people like people. You know what I'm saying? You explain why you're doing what you're doing.
And that's clutch. That's clutch. We've always respected that.
But when you have people that are not from the neighborhood, they just come here to work and do their wrong, and then they go back and live in their beautiful across PG County, out of PG County, and come to work. They don't know how to talk to each other, talk to the citizens, because you're not me. You don't know what I've been through, so only thing you know how to do is come in here and think that you're going to slap, put the rod down.
And that's it. Y'all right.
That's it.
Well, we hear the music going. I'm telling you. How can we contact you all real quick?
I have your, I'm sorry.
Somebody wants to.
You can reach us on Facebook at UBPOA of Maryland, on Facebook as well as on the internet, and we're on Twitter. Same thing.
Okay.
And you could also reach us at henlea.com, which is the initials for the association, HNLEA.com or .org.
I tell you what, I wish we had more time. And if you all want to come back again to finish on the opposite side of this, because we really do.
Continue this conversation.
Because we do. I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this. This is the walk this week. I want you to concentrate real hard on the people that are out here trying to protect you. And I think that you need to say a little prayer for them too. Say a prayer for them too, especially the ones of color, because they're really out here really trying to get down for you. Until next week, we'll see you same time. Don't go nowhere.
Flipping through the pages.